Welcome to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JMO for Real podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I'm your host, JMO. And today's friend is my co-host, Sarah. In this episode, we will be exploring the world of Fairy Tail, an action-adventure comedy and fantasy released in August of 2006. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, we will explore the first season of Fairy Tail. First, we will glance at our four main characters that we follow throughout their journey. Next, we will discuss the Fairy Tail Guild and meet some of the fascinating members. Afterwards, we will look at some of the arcs that help develop our main characters. And finally, we will explore some of the other amazing arcs of the first season. And remember, if you like what you hear today, follow us on social media, linked in the show notes. Alright, so how's it going today, Sarah?
It's going great as usual.
Awesome. You excited to be talking about Fairy Tail today?
I love Fairy Tail. I'm very excited for this one.
Awesome. Okay, so let's just dive right into our four main characters. Who do you want to start with?
We should probably start with Lucy.
Okay, let's start with Lucy. The true main character of the story, right?
The first time I started watching through, I might have disagreed. I might have thought it been one of the others. But really, it's kind of told from her perspective.
Yeah, really, she is the one who's narrating everything. She's the one who's summarizing everything in notes to her mother, who, we don't learn too much about her mother in the first season. Yeah, tell us a little more about Lucy. What makes her special? What makes her unique?
So, everyone in the world of Fairy Tail, has, some kind of magic. Not all people, do it a lot or anything. But Lucy's cool thing is she has these magical keys. They're called Celestial Keys. And they unlock the door into the celestial world, and from that, a celestial spirit appears, and she can make a contract with them.
And she has all sorts of members of the Zodiac that she has made contracts with who will fight alongside her. Just give a quick list of some of your favorite members.
Aquarius is... No, wait.
Aquarius, yeah.
Aquarius, I forgot him. Aquarius is pretty cool.
But always in a bad mood. She doesn't seem to like Lucy so much.
I feel like it's one of those love-hate things. She really likes Lucy, but she hates to show it.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. And then, she also has Tauros, and she gains a few others throughout the series. So we are not going to talk too much, but she starts off with Aquarius, Cancer, and Tauros. And a few other lesser spirits, too. Anything about her personality besides her powers? Is there anything that really sticks out to you about her that you like?
She's the real upbeat type. That's really all I really go for this one. She's pretty happy. She's pretty level-headed most of the time.
I wouldn't say level-headed as much as thoughtful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
She has several moments where she is the voice of reason in the group. We'll cover that more when we get to the final portion of this show, when we're talking about other big arcs. She very much loves Fairy Tail. She cares about it, and she finds it as her new family. That's just really something that's really special to her and really precious to her. Mm-hmm. Moving right along, we should probably go to the one that a lot of people mistake as the main character, because he does get the most screen time, and the story seems to follow him, but it follows him through her perspective. Mm-hmm. Natsu. Tell us about Natsu.
Natsu's very fun. He's kind of hot-headed. Pun intended.
I got a fire in my belly.
Right. He's what's called a dragon slayer, which doesn't mean he killed a dragon. It means he was trained by a dragon. And he was trained by Igneal, the fire dragon.
Yeah, all sorts of things. All of his moves are moves that his dragon father taught him, because Natsu was orphaned at a young age. We don't know much about his family at all, other than Igneal is his family. And he taught him Fire Dragon Roar and Talon and Wing and all different sorts of moves. He really kind of fits the archetype of the over-the-top shonen fire type user. It really just, he thinks a lot with his stomach first.
Yeah.
One of the funny things that all Dragon Slayers have in common, motion sickness.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Anything you want to say about that?
Every time he's just going from point A to point B, if he's not walking, he's just on the side of the rail, just trying his best to not get sick. And that's a terrible flaw to have.
The only exception is he has a cat that has wings that's named Happy. It's not really a cat, but it's like a winged cat creature that's part of the Fairy Tale Guild also. And when he's flying with Happy, like, he doesn't get motion sick.
It doesn't make sense, though.
Happy and Natsu are BFFs. Happy is adorable. It's
Happy
a little
is.
blue kitty. Talk to us about Happy.
I love Happy. Happy is probably more upbeat than Lucy. Like,
Yes. A lot more naive, too.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say about Happy. Happy's so cute.
And all the previews at the end and the middle intermission for the episode all have Happy in them. It's just a little warm, fuzzy comic relief that gives you all sorts of feel-good feelings. Though, has proven useful in combat a couple of times, too.
Oh, definitely.
And where we have fire with Natsu, we also have ice.
So Gray is our ice magic guy. He's not a dragon slayer.
Maker
though.
magic. He uses ice maker magic.
Ice maker magic. And literally that sums it up. He can make ice, he can have it do his bidding. Pretty cool power.
But it's not just that. It's also very intricate. He can make very fine, detailed designs. He can turn it into different shapes and forms to suit the purposes. Maker magic as a whole, they actually are creators. Like, that's something that's really important to note. Like, Natsu is using pure brute fire strength. He's using that dragon slayer magic.
Yeah.
Lucy is a celestial wizard. She summons
summoner,
from another
yeah.
dimension. Whereas Gray is actually making, forming, and molding these intricate ice designs and that using them for combat, too, in a way that he needs to at the time. Anything you want to say about Gray as a personality?
I mean, he's a little frosty, pun intended. He's got this weird quirk, and there's no reason as to why he does it. He'll just, start taking off his clothes.
Oh, no, there is a reason
What's the
why
reason
he does it.
then? Does he get too warm or something?
No, when he was trained when he was younger, they trained out in the cold all the time, and in order to adjust his body better to the cold, they trained wearing just their underwear.
Okay, I must have missed that part of the episode.
Yeah, that's part of the arc where you watch him training with Leon and, and his mentor at a young age, right before Deliora happens.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a very icy individual, but he's also a very good friend and an ally. At the end of the day, him and Natsu might fight all the time, but they have each other's back even more so. Like, yes, they will compete to see who takes down the villain, but they will not let the other one fall.
Yeah, for sure.
And our final member of the team, the most powerful member of the team, talk to us a little about Titania, the Queen of the Fairies.
Titania Urza, she's a really cool character. Her magic's very different than, most of the others, in my opinion. I don't remember what she calls it.
Well, it's also a dimensional-based magic. It's a requipping magic.
Okay.
Instead of using celestial spirits, she uses armor and weapons. That she has a ton of them in storage. Something for everything. At one point in time during the series, we see her access over 200 of her weapons at the same exact time. And she can very quickly and seamlessly change between outfits for the appropriate moment. She has her Purgatory armor, and her Flame Empress, and her Lightning Empress, and all sorts of things. One's made of adamantium, and even ones that just, strip it down to give her maximum flexibility.
Yeah.
Talk to us about her personality a little.
She's very serious, which kind of balances...
Is she really serious, or is she really commanding?
Okay, I would say a little bit of both. Commanding is probably the better word, though. But that complements, Natsu's kind of craziness, and that complements Gray's kind of craziness, especially when they start going at it. She'll just pull in the reins on them and get them to settle down.
Smack their heads, give them both of those goofy cartoon bumps on top of their heads. But at the same time, she will get very sidetracked and fascinated by sweets, and there will be many times where she'll forget the details in the course of explaining something. So she comes with her own quirks and flaws, too. One thing to remember, they're all just teenagers.
Yeah, they're all very young.
Urza, Gray, and Natsu were all orphaned at young ages. Lucy left because she was forgotten in her own home. She came from a very wealthy background. But more so, the other three that were in the guild before, they were each other's family forever. And honestly, Fairy Tail is a family.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Fairy Tail Guild as a whole. Let's talk about Makarov, the leader.
Makarov's pretty cool. He's like everyone's, not dad because he's older, but he's like everyone's
He
grandpa.
calls them his children.
He does. He does call them his children. I believe he genuinely loves all of them.
Yeah, 100% are very present in Fairy Tail. He cares for each one of them individually, and when you mess with his family, any member of his family, you are messing with him and the entire Fairy Tale Guild.
Yeah.
They're a really tight-knit group. And they fight all the time, like brothers and sisters. Like, it's not uncommon to walk into the guild hall and see someone starting a fight into
Especially.
a complete brawl. But at the same time, they all have each other's back, because one of the things that fascinates me most about the series is in the opening episode, he's kind of like, I don't care if you follow all the rules. I don't care if you cause chaos in different areas, as long as you're finding your true self, and as long as you're expressing your true self, as long as you are becoming the best possible version of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just kind of awesome. Any members of the guild that you want to highlight?
I mean, Elfman's really fun. He's a man's man. He's kind of a big guy, and he's all about being manly, and it's just, the way he talks is great.
Tell us a little bit about his magic.
Beast transformation. So basically, in the beginning, all you see him do is like certain parts of his body. Like if he's throwing a punch, it'll be a punch with that beast transformation attached onto it. So he's a pretty heavy hitter. He's solid when it comes to his offensive skills, and he's pretty defensive as well, of course.
He's really good, and his older sister was one of the former S-Class members of the guild. She had a setback when they lost her younger sister, Lizana, but Mary Jane and Elfman have come through this together, and by the end of the first season, Mary Jane regains her full power. She also has a full amazing beast takeover too, but we're not going to talk too much about that because it comes back in the final arc, and honestly, you really need to watch this.
Yeah.
And the final arc where they take on Loxus, one of the other S-Class members of the Fairy Tale Guild, which we didn't mention it before, but Urza is an S-Class member. There are 3 members at the beginning of the series. It is Urza, Loxus, who becomes an antagonist that we will talk about later, and Mystigan. Anything you want to say about Mystigan?
I mean, he's shrouded in mystery.
So mysterious.
So mysterious. I don't know how far into the spoilers and stuff you want to go.
Oh, we'll cover that in the later arc, but
Okay.
he uses illusionary magic. It's funny because whenever he comes back to the Fairy Tale Guild, he puts everyone to sleep so that nobody can see what he looks like.
Yeah, he's like that.
We'll give a quick shout out to Levy, Jet, and Troy. They're
Yeah.
a team that travel down together. Levy is going to become important in something that we talk about later, but she's the genius of the guild. She can dispel stuff. She uses word type powers. But yeah, I think we covered enough of the members of Fairy Tale. Like, we don't want to go too much into it. There's a lot of interesting and fun characters. But now we're going to focus on our main characters and the storylines anymore. And remember, if you like what you hear today, give us a follow on social media. And if you're already getting hooked, we recommend that you watch it for yourself on Crunchyroll, home to over 1,000 anime series and simulcast, both subbed and dubbed. The website is listed in our show notes, including our social media links. So let's just dive right into some of the amazing arcs that really just kind of propel our main characters forward. So Fairy Tale really sets up well at the beginning when a guy is pretending to be Salamander, a Fairy Tale recruiter, in the first couple episodes. And he's doing it to recruit Lucy and try to kidnap a whole bunch of ladies from the town to sell them into slavery. And, well, he made the big mistake of not checking to see who the real Salamander is, because Natsu is known as the Salamander, and he comes across the guy. So we really learn a lot about Natsu in that initial arc, because it sets the tone of what his values are. Like, Natsu, despite the fact that he's very hot-headed, he has a very strong sense of values. If you didn't do the job exactly as listed, you don't take the reward. If you say anything negative against the Fairy Tale Guild, you're an enemy. If you do anything to deface the Fairy Tale Guild, you're an enemy. He comes at it because he's protecting his family, his name, and his guild's reputation at all times. So that's one of the great things that we see about there. Do you want to jump into an arc that shows a lot of development for Lucy with Loki?
Yes, I do. I was thinking about mentioning Loki when we were talking about the characters. For a little bit there, you're not really sure what's going on with Loki, because every time he's a member of Fairy Tale, but every time, like, Lucy kind of comes near, he just kind of, like, scatters. And you're just kind of like, what's up with that guy? So eventually you find out that Loki is actually one of the celestial beings, Leo the Lion. And he explains, like, this pretty messed up story of how his original keyholder, like, he basically takes the blame for her dying. And really, when he explains it all out, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, she was absolutely awful, and she was basically mistreating one of her other spirits, Ares, and Leo had enough of it. He refused to allow her to bring out Ares, and he said, yeah, we're not going to help you until you release us. And unfortunately, she died trying to do a mission without her celestial spirits.
Yeah, the thing about the celestial wizards is, for that one in particular at least, she could only summon one spirit at a time. So Leo, Loki, just champed it out and said, I'm not leaving until you release us. And usually that would eventually, like, cause harm to the celestial beings. They're not really meant for this world. They can stay out and they can participate a little bit. But he stayed out and just champed it for months until she took on a mission that she couldn't take and died in the process.
And a long story short, Lucy actually puts herself on the line for Leo before the Celestial King in order to win his trust, and he becomes her celestial spirit as a result. And she's able to get the Celestial King to forgive Leo, which is just kind of awesome. Another awesome arc is when we're really learning about the background story of Grey. Grey was trying to hunt down a demon by the name of Deliora that took out his family and his hometown when he was younger. And we see the lesson that he learns. The reason why his teacher took him on was because she saw a darkness in him. And one of the things that she was training him and Leon, and it comes up in a later arc when Leon is actually the antagonist. Leon thinks that Grey was the reason why their instructor is dead, but it turns out that she actually sacrificed herself. She became ice to freeze over the demon Deliora in order to save Grey from the darkness inside himself. So at this moment, Grey really just, when he has to confront his past and confront Leon again, he really just comes to realize that I have forgiven myself and I have forgiven you, Leon, for trying to bring back Deliora. And together they work together, and he ends up winning Leon's heart back, and Leon joins a legitimate guild. Not Fairy Tail, but it's just kind of a great moment. Now we should probably go into a little bit of the background with Urza, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of is going to link our third and fourth points together, because we're going to learn about Urza's development and something that it leads into with the Tower of Heaven. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about Urza's background with the Tower of Heaven.
So Urza's background's pretty tragic, as there is. She grew up basically a slave that was put together by a bunch of slaves with her, of course, put together by this like cult group that was trying to bring back something called Zareth. They used the slave labor to build this tower, and it was just as crappy conditions as you can imagine for slaves during that time. They, not fed enough, worked too hard, all that good stuff.
And eventually it comes to a point where she is able to lead a revolution, and she is saving her friend Jalal from himself, but Jalal has already been taken over by the evil that is assumed to be Zareth. And he basically says, you don't have to stay and help us build this, but you're exiled from here. And he kicks her out. And years later, the friends that she left behind come and they capture her to make her a sacrifice to reactivate the Tower of Heaven. And there's a whole drawn-out war, a whole process where they battle a dark assassins guild. Because obviously, Natsu Grey and Lucy are coming to rescue, and even their friend Juvia, who has joined them at this point in time, who joins them in another arc we'll talk about in a moment. They go in to rescue her, and the final battle shows a lot of character development for Urza as she's battling against Jalal and she's trying to make the right decision, but also it shows a lot of development for Natsu as a character as he ferociously defends Urza, and he takes a step up in his power, awakening the salamander even more. In the end, they are able to destroy the tower and stop Jalal from completing his plan. And this comes right on the heels of a major arc where they had to do battle with the Phantom Lords. Talk to us about that.
Oh, the Phantom Lords. So, these guys are crazy. You find out through this arc that the reason that they're trying to get to Fairy Tail is because Lucy's dad suddenly wants her back. And he's very rich, so he's paying them off to go get Lucy, and really he doesn't care about collateral damage. Neither do the Phantom Lords. So, the Phantom Lords try to get Lucy, and again, I feel like Lucy wasn't in Fairy Tail for that long, But for them just to band behind her and be like, no, she's with us. She's our family. You're not taking her. I thought that was like a great moment.
Yeah, it shows a lot about family. And we could go into the battles with the Element 4, which Juvia was a member of, and she joins Fairy Tail afterwards. But the one that I really want to focus on, there's character development for Natsu in this one, too, because he's battling another Dragon Slayer, the Steel Dragon Slayer, Gajeel. And as the battle goes on, you just see them going back and forth. But as it concludes with Natsu victorious, him and Gajeel are actually talking about when their dragons disappeared. Gajeel's dragon's name is Metallicana, and Natsu's is Ignale, and it shows a little bit more of the depth in the history of the Dragon Slayer. And it's funny, even though they were bitter enemies during the fight, there was almost like a bonding moment between them being Dragon Slayers afterwards. And they battle another Dragon Slayer in the final arc of the series. You find out that Loxus is the Dragon Slayer, and Gajeel does join the guild, and him and Natsu have an epic battle with Loxus at the end.
It's a crazy good fight.
Because Loxus actually hijacked the guild, and he forced a game that forced the Fairy Tail Wizards to fight against each other in an attempt to take over the guild for himself. He shows his true colors, or what we believe to be his true colors. And he comes at the guild that has given him so much. His grandfather Makarov gave him so much, and he just spits it all away. But we find out by the end of it that he was acting against his own his true deepest feelings the whole time. And I don't want to talk too much about this arc, other than it shows you some awesome inside the guild battles of Fairy Tail Wizards. And really, honestly, that's the arc where the series just starts to take off for me.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It goes from the Phantom Lord arc to the Loki Celestial King arc to the Tower of Heaven arc to the Battle of Fairy Tail arc. And those 4 arcs really just kind of define the first season and launch you into the second season.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to say about the Battle of Fairy Tail with Loxus without revealing too much?
I mean, it's really cool how they set it up. Just one of the wizards freed. He's on Loxus' side. He's part of the Thunder Legion. The reason that they're able to like pit people against each other is just because he's able to throw up these barriers basically that have conditions on them, and you can't pass unless the conditions met. So let's throw up a barrier. Strongest person, last man standing, gets out, and then that person can go try to free the people that have been. I don't want to reveal too much. And that's what really makes it, like, if they didn't have Freed, this would have not worked. It just wouldn't have.
No, Freed was the catalyst that made the whole thing work, and glad that you mentioned him by name. We'll mention the other 2 members of the Thunder Legion, but we're not going to talk about them, Evergreen and Bixlow. But definitely an arc that you need to watch, definitely an arc that is worth watching, and an anime that is worth watching. So, once again, we took a glance at our 4 main characters, Lucy, Natsu, Urza, and Gray, and then we took a look at the rest of the Fairy Tail Guild. We explored some of the arcs of character development and some of the awesome epic battles that Fairy Tail has gone into. And really, it's just kind of been a lot of fun. And remember, if you like what you've heard today, follow us on social media. That is linked in the show notes. Talk to us a little. What is Fairy Tail for you? How much do you enjoy it?
I need to make the list. Eventually I'm going to make the list of, like, my favorite anime. It's got to be top 10. Like, it's good. I like it. The different kinds of magic are so interesting. Everyone is so very different in their magic.
They do a really good job developing the characters.
Yeah.
The stories aren't always solid, but the characters are very well developed, and there's a strong mythos to the universe. The mythos is actually really well thought out, too.
Definitely.
For me, it is a top 10 anime of all time, and it's the only one that is very shonen that fits into my top 10.
That is very shonen.
It does have a lot of feel of the Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece sort of thing going on, and it runs really long. It's the only one that really runs really long that I will put in my top 10. And there's one other, but that's not one that we're talking about. So I hope you had as much fun exploring the world of Fairy Tail as we did, and that you consider watching this anime. So if you like what you heard today, make sure to listen to us on Apple and Spotify. All of our podcasts are there. All of the J-Mill for Real podcasts are on there. Check us out on social media and interact with us there. It is linked in the show notes. Until next time, this has been Exploring Anime with Friends, a J-Mill for Real podcast. Let's explore together.